Sharkie Gamer here. So today we're going to take a look at the Konami Dance Dance Revolution hand controller for the PlayStation 1 and 2. So this is another hand controller or finger pad for the DDR game, and this of course supports PlayStation 1 and 2, but the difference is this is officially made by Konami. So you can see the Konami logo just up the top there. So it's an official Konami controller. So looking at the box here, you've got the PlayStation logo up the top there. You've also got the Bimani logo down the bottom there as well. In the center, it shows you a bit of a glimpse there at the controller itself, and it gives you some cool DDR kind of artwork in the background. Now the sides are pretty plain. It just says Konami, PlayStation 1 and 2, and of course it's got the Dance Dance Revolution logo. And that's the same on the other side as well. Now on the top it's got the same sort of details, but it also has a picture here of someone holding the controller. Onto the back, you got a lot of information here. Of course it's all in Japanese. Up the top here you got another image there of someone holding the controller. Try to get that bit in focus. There we go. And of course, like I said, all information in Japanese. So that's pretty much the box. Let's go ahead now and open this up and take a closer look at this DDR controller. Now first off, you get this little bit of a manual, and this is pretty important, you'll find out soon. This is all in Japanese. The main thing that's in English though that you can read is what it points out which button is which. You see these buttons are all colored. They don't actually have what it does actually on the button itself, so you do have to refer to this to get used to which button actually does what. So it actually lists up, so it shows you like that's triangle, that's L2, etc. So this thing is pretty handy until you get used to which button is which. So I'll come back to that in a second, but first let's take a look at this controller. So first up, it's got the PlayStation connection, and of course that has the Konami logo on it just there. It's got quite a decent length of cable, so it should be enough to go to your console. And of course straight away from looking at it, you can tell this is a gamepad, but it's not any, doesn't look like any gamepad you're probably used to seeing. So it looks quite different. Even though it looks like a gamepad, the top of it looks completely different to what you're used to seeing in a gamepad. So first let's look at the grip of it. So as you can see, it's shaped like a gamepad. It has these kind of handles here where you can nice and easily hold it. And of course it's got this big black area here where you can actually hold it there. So you get a kind of firm grip on it, so you can hold it quite firmly when you're playing. The other bit that's really useful, the fact that this is actually the same length as these handles here, is you can also put it onto a surface and play it like this. So you can play it like this, or you can hold it like this and play it using your thumbs. So whatever's more comfortable for you. So it's pretty well designed. The black of it is just hard plastic, so it's just a hard kind of plastic. Just there it just says 2000 Konami, and of course it's got the model number just there as well. But looking at the actual main functions of the controller, first off, this top plate has sort of like a brushed metal look. If you have a look, it's very reflective. It looks pretty cool. It looks kind of like brushed metal. And of course it's covered with like a plastic cover there. At the top there it says Konami and Bimani. I'll try to get that better focus. There we go. And of course it's got the select and start buttons up the top here, and they're rubber and they're out of the way so you don't accidentally press them. Next, going down, you can see all these different colored buttons, and they've all got just arrow logos on them. So they've just got multiple directional arrows on them, as you can see. But there's no other symbols there that show what the actual buttons do. So this is where that manual comes in handy, because this points out exactly which button does which. So for example, on the left hand side of the controller, we'll do these first. This top button here, this one acts as L1. So that's L1. This one over here is R1. And these buttons here are your directional buttons, so basically like a D-pad. On the right hand side of the controller, this one here is L2. This one over here is R2. This one is triangle. Then you got circle, X, and square. So having this nearby when you're still learning which button is which is essential. That way you can kind of get used to it, and once you're used to it, you don't need to really look at that anymore. It would have been better if they actually had put in, of course, the actual little symbols on here so you knew which button was which, but I guess they wanted it to look unique, maybe look more like a Dance Revolution controller. I'm not really sure why, but it would have been a little bit easier to learn which button is which. And of course, if you don't have that piece of paper, you'll just have to play around in the game and just work out which button is which. But otherwise, these buttons perform quite well. They press down pretty easily, and you can access all these buttons really nicely as well. So all the buttons respond really nicely. Once you're used to which is which, you can easily play any of the Dance Revolution games with this controller. And of course, this is ideal for the lazy gamer that doesn't want to put up a dance mat and move to play the game. This way you can sit down in a chair and your fingers get the exercise instead of your body. So you're giving your fingers a workout. And like I said before, you can either play with your thumbs like I'm playing right now, or you can put this onto a surface and play with these two fingers. So whatever's more better for you, you can play it. I find even though you can put on a surface, it does tend to move around a little bit. It's not like that other mini DDR pad I did that had that little grips on the feet. This doesn't really have that. It's just plastic, so it does move around a little bit. But you can use it. I mean, it's not impossible to use it. You might just have to sit steady a little bit more. That's why it's probably easier to hold it and actually use your thumbs. Because that way you got a good grip of it, it's not going to move around, and you can pretty much access all these buttons really easily. So overall, it's a pretty cool controller, and it's made officially by Konami, so that is an official company that usually makes these kind of rhythm games, so you know it's a good quality controller. It looks pretty cool, it looks really unique. Yeah, it's a really unique kind of looking controller, and like I said before, definitely for the lazy gamer that doesn't actually want to get up and move. With this thing you can play everything, the Dance Revolution games without actually having to move. And of course with this also, it's good if you don't have space for a dance mat. So dance mats are usually pretty large, so if you don't have the space for that, you can of course get one of these, so you can still play the Dance Revolution games. But of course it's very easy to put away. This will just fit in your drawer. It's really small, as you can see. It's about the same size as a standard gamepad, so it's not going to take that much space at all. The downside, of course, of these things are pretty rare and hard to find. You hardly ever see them, and they're usually pretty expensive when you do see them. Being official Konami, like occasionally you can get one a bit cheaper, but it's usually probably something wrong with it, or it's missing its box, or something like that, or maybe it's a bit worn. But you do definitely see them occasionally, just not very often. So if you are a fan of the DDR games and you think this controller is ideal for you, or ideal for your DDR collection, then you may have to be a bit patient and look around a little bit to actually find it. But it's a pretty cool controller, very unique. It looks really kind of novelty DDR kind of controller, and it definitely looks pretty cool, and it definitely does the job. Especially being official Konami, you know it's a quality controller. Well, the only thing bad I can say about this controller is I wish they had put the actual symbols on the actual buttons. It would have made it a lot easier to learn kind of what does what, instead of having to refer to that manual, that single piece of paper, to kind of work out what button does what. So it would have been pretty cool if they had just put the little symbols. Even if they had made the symbols kind of look like DDR kind of symbols, that would have been fine. But just putting the symbols on would have improved it that little bit more, and made it a little bit more to get used to using. But other than that, it's pretty comfortable to use. All the buttons respond really nicely. Really easy to play any DDR game with this, and it's pretty comfortable to hold. So it's got a decent grip on it as well. And it works with PlayStation 1 and 2, so you can use it with any DDR game that works with PlayStation 1 or 2. So overall, it's a pretty cool controller. I'll give you one more look around at it. There's the buttons again. And that brushed metal on the back there, that finish, it looks pretty cool. So yeah guys, that was the Konami Dance Dance Revolution controller for the PlayStation 1 and 2. A pretty cool little finger DDR pad or hand controller, whatever you would really like to call it, I guess. DDR gamepad, there's probably several names you could actually call this thing, but it's a pretty cool thing. It looks really different, and it definitely does the job, and I definitely recommend this for any kind of lazy gamer that wants to play the DDR games without actually bringing out a dance mat. So guys, that was the Konami Dance Dance Revolution controller for the PlayStation 1 and 2. Thanks for watching. I am Sharkie Gamer. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll have heaps more gaming controller and accessory videos up very shortly. If you like this video, hit that like button. Really helps out a lot, guys. And as always, feel free to leave a comment down below if you want to, and as well as share the video, as that helps spread my video around. Anyway guys, thanks for watching.